Hi crafters, Raquel here from Paints and Glitter. I welcome you to my channel. Today I'm coming along with the Seashell and Starfish die collection from Tonic Studios. This is a gorgeous collection. It has 60 dies in total, and it will allow you to create a starfish shaped box or bag and a seashell shaped box or bag. It has little accessories as you see here, such as little stars and then another tiny sea star here, which I think is adorable. It has a little handle that you can use for the box if you choose to make a handbag instead. And then it has side panels, and because some of these are similar in size, what I can tell you is, for instance, that there is this piece here. It's very similar in size to this one. However, if you see, this one has 4 little tabs and this one has 3. And the other thing is this piece here is marked with a little debossed star, and that's going to come in handy when you look at the instructions. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to make a couple of samples for you that you can use as a reference if you want to follow along. So I invite you to watch this video tutorial, and don't forget that there will be links included in the description bar should you want to take advantage of this gorgeous set available for this absolutely wonderful week of Cyber Week for Tonic Studios. It's going to be super exciting, and I look forward to seeing how you use these items when you get them on hand. So let's get started. Let's make a handbag with the seashell dies. For this tutorial, you're going to omit or ignore the largest seashell die. We're going to focus on these two for now, and I'm just going to move this aside for a moment. By the way, I am using fuchsia pink cardstock from Tonic Studios, and this is 80 pound in weight. It has a pretty linen weave. And the first thing that I can let you know is that you're going to use this solid portion and cut out 8 pieces using just this die here. Once you have all 8 of those, revisit that by layering these 2 pieces together, but this is just to guide you as far as placement. And then place this one that has this wide little border there, and then place that so that it's at a good distance all the way around from that edge. If you feel comfortable, you can omit that other one, but just know that this is going to nestle right in here, and you want it to be equidistant all the way around. Then place your low-tack adhesive on here, and you'll be cutting this out a total of 4 times. So I'll cut this and I'll come right back. You'll now have something that looks like this, and you'll be doing that to 4 of the shells that you had cut. And then you have this little portion left over. You can use that for a different project or to layer inside if you would like to, because you could always emboss that. Now we're going to move on to the decorative layers. I'll let you know right ahead that I'm going to be creating a shaker. So what I'm doing is that same die that we cut out 8 times for our base layers, I've cut out again using mirror cardstock. And what I've done is that after I cut this, and I did do this twice, I used the decorative layer. Using that decorative layer, I simply laid it right in the center. And this, you could do the same thing again, where you allow the second die to kind of guide you, and then place your die there in the center, tack that down, and run it through your die cutting machine. And once you do, you're going to get that pretty decorative layer. So again, you can do this twice for both sides if you like to. And the way you'll create this into a shaker is that you're going to once again take that solid border die, the same one that you used to cut this layer, and cut out 2 pieces of acetate. Now this isn't going to cut through the entire border, but you can use it, run it through your die cutting machine, and then take your scissors and cut around the borders. For the sides of this bag, we're going to be using the dies that look like this, and they will stand out because they do have a little seashell right on the tab here. So be on the lookout for that. You're going to be cutting the large, the medium, and the small sizes, and you do need a total of 4 of the large, 8 of the medium, and 6 of the small one. As you can tell, there are also these little layering dies that will match each one. I just happen to have these here. So using these, you can cut out your mirror cardstock with that rectangle, then go ahead and run that paper through using that inlay portion, and that's how you're going to be able to achieve that really pretty look. And go ahead and adhere those onto each layer respectively. Once you've done that, you can go ahead and take the paper, place it in your hand, and using a paper creaser, start shaping this because it needs a curve. And that's how you can go ahead and curve all of these little strips. Then take the half moon tabs and fold all of those away until you've done that with every single one of these pieces. If you're curious as to how I'm decorating this, I'm using the Bejeweled Blue mirror card for these little handle pieces, and also what will be the clasp, which you do want to cut out 4 times. And as you can tell, I do have red liner adhesive on only 2 of those, and that's going to come in handy. Then for the outer layer, I am using from the Precious Metals from Harmony Paper, and that's also from Tonic Studios. I'm actually using this one here. That holographic paper there is what I've used for those outer layers. And now we can continue the assembly. To begin our construction, I'm going to take one of the shell pieces and one of the large side tab pieces. I'm first going to fold that tab on the end as a valley fold, and I'm going to burnish that. Then I'm going to make sure that every single one of those half moon tabs is folded away, and this is going to curl around our very first side here. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to bring this with the flat end toward the bottom of the shell and start curling this around so that it adheres along that edge there. So I'm simply going to place some drops of adhesive on each one of these little tabs. And I'm going to face this pretty side up because I want this to be really nice for the inside of the bag. And I'm simply going to butt that all the way up to that corner and then wrap this around. And you want to take your time here so that you can curl that all the way around. Once you have a really good tack here, just be sure to burnish this with your paper creaser so that you get a really good adhesion on that, and then this is how it should look on the opposite side. We're now going to move on to a medium base size, so you may want to keep yours in order there. So be sure to also fold this as a V fold here, burnish that. Make sure that you've got your little curved line already started by burnishing your paper, of course. And then this one is going to attach to that previous tab and then wrap around as well. Once that's attached, go ahead and add your little drops of adhesive to the half moon tabs. Wrap that all the way around and make sure that the next one ends right where that little corner begins there. So you can attach the very last half moon tab before you do the others because you can accommodate these, of course. The next size is going to be the small one. So we're again going to attach that side tab first to that bare side there, and I'm going to add our adhesive to the tab, add our next little side piece right to it. You can hold that together. Be sure to fold this again as a V fold. I'm going to do it with my fingers, but you do want to burnish that nicely. So hold that onto that edge. Apply your adhesive, wrap that around, and make sure that it reaches all the way to the next little V shape there. on the shell. You're now going to continue on with the 2 remaining small pieces that will wrap around this shell. And as you can tell, I have sped up the video so that way I don't take too much of your time. But this is repetitive at this point, so you're going to continue just adding the larger tab, then securing it, adding adhesive to the smaller scallop tabs, and wrapping that around. So the neat thing about this design is that because it's been separated in parts for you, then you're going to be able to get a more accurate adhesion when it comes to these papers that have to wrap around. And you may notice that, for instance, the outer layer is actually not doubled up. But if you want to add that second layer, then you may want to do so after you have actually adhered the pieces onto the actual scallop. So now that you've done the 2 smaller pieces, you're going to go back to the medium one, fold that larger tab one more time, adhere it to the previous one, and continue on in the same fashion, getting that larger tab adhered first, and then adhering the scalloped ones onto the base. And as you can tell, you really want to manipulate that paper. Now we're going to go back to the large tab, and this is going to mirror what we have already done. Adhere that along the long tab first, secure it, and then wrap that around that larger edge, securing the last little tab first and then walking your way back is going to be the little pointer that I'm going to give you. And by all means, take advantage of your table. Now you're going to notice that one side has a tab, the other one does not. You now have 2 remaining medium-sized tabs, or edge pieces is what I should call them. Go ahead and fold those both, and then secure the first one as you have done all of the previous ones. And the second one you're going to secure by using the tab rather than the flat edge. So adhere that one as you see there. And make sure that all of the little half moon tabs are secured onto the base. And now you're going to proceed as you've done all of the other ones, except for these 2 will meet in the center. So take your time here. I know the video is fast, but you don't want to rush this portion. And there, once you've secured all those half moon tabs onto the base, you're going to notice you have that seam in the center, but you do have a tab there. You definitely should. And you're going to secure both of those by overlapping them, but make sure that here you don't overlap them so much that you cover the decorative paper. It should give you a good indication as to where it should end. And here's where you're going to use 2 of the apertures that you had cut. I'm going to suggest you use double-sided adhesive for the first one and wrap that all the way around. As you can see, I've placed it on this scallop, but I'm not having to cover the entire thing because I'll be securing this with liquid adhesive as well. But once you've taken the protective layer off of that, place it right inside and very gently start shaping this around so that you secure those tabs. You're also going to be adding the closure if you choose to use this. So you do want to mirror those and then use red line adhesive so that you can attach it to the uppermost scallop border. It should match exactly. You're also going to add the hinge. Now the instructions say to cut 2. I only cut 1 for this project, and I did use 300 GSM card. I changed my mind from the regular 80-pound card. I just wanted it to be more sturdy because it is quite small. And if I'm completely honest with you, I would rather just cut this with just a regular piece of paper and a scoreboard and actually make it larger. So if you want to go ahead and do that, that's what I would suggest for this project. It might make it a little bit easier. The thing is that you don't want it to supersede that edge. But there it is. The fold line goes against the edge. And now you also want to adhere the little handle if you're going to be using that. And as you can tell, I've cut 3 pieces. I've adhered them, just tacking them lightly onto the actual shell. And here I'm going to layer them one bead on top of the other. And once I have that layered as I want it, now is when I'm going to actually attach this with red line adhesive, just 2 little pieces there. So you may want to pause the video so you get to see exactly where I've placed these, but you'll notice it's right where the little V shape is on the scallop. And once that's secure, I'm going to double it up, of course, so that it looks pretty both on the front and back of the handbag. And there you see each little pearl gets a little dot of adhesive, and now I'm applying the holographic paper right on top and overlapping the beads as needed. So you make this in the shape that you prefer, of course, if you want a larger or smaller handle. And now I'm removing the backing to the red line adhesive, and here is where you get to cover up all of those little tabs with the second aperture. Now be mindful of the fact that you're going to repeat this one more time, all of the steps you just took to create the second half of this handbag. So be sure to walk that all along the edges, and this is going to take you a little bit of time, but you don't want to rush this part because you really want it to have a really pretty finish. And this is going to cover the hinge as well, so that's why you want to do this last. Now here's the second portion. I'm going to repeat the same steps, so I haven't covered that naked edge just yet. I'm first positioning the handle. Next, I'm going to position the hinge. So this is where the 2 meet. And this is where I was referring to this hinge being a bit small. It has to be so that it doesn't supersede the edge of the handbag. But you just want to be careful when you are attaching this to make sure that you apply adhesive onto the remaining portion of that hinge and also matching it exactly. So just bear in mind that you can always use Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. It does give you a moment to rearrange it if you need to, but then hold on real tight to that edge until it dries fully. And that's what I did so that I could secure it. Now I get to remove the liner from the little handle portion, and this also gets covered up with that second aperture that will hide all of those little tabs and also the second part of that hinge. Now, of course, if you wanted to, you could follow the instructions exactly and do 2 hinges. I just don't. I knew that I wasn't going to be happy if I did that, and I'm really honest on this channel about what I like and what I don't like, but there it is. Now I did place a really heavy stamp block, not too heavy, but you know, an acrylic block to secure that. Now here's the decorative portion. As you can tell, I did add the acetate. I wanted you to see the adhesive because I did use Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to adhere the acetate onto this shell. And now I'm going to follow this up with some foam adhesive, and here you use the one that you like. I'm going to link below in the description bar of my video the one that I prefer. It is about 1/8 of an inch wide, and you can tell there I added that to the entire perimeter and a little piece at the bottom. And here's where you can have some fun if you're like me and like all the things shiny. I create sequin mixes with things that I purchased and then add those to shakers. So once you remove the backing to that foam adhesive, and please take it slow here, I promise you're going to want to. Now you can add the next layer of one more of the scallop shapes you would have cut, and this is going to adhere right on top of your handbag. And here what I did was to secure every single one of those little scallop portions is that I adhered it by placing the adhesive right on to each one of those and then also onto the shaker portion. So this is of course just for inspiration. You use the parts of this tutorial that suit you best, but don't forget that you can keep this entirely flat and just decorate it in the way that you prefer. Later on in the video, I will be filling a lot of those little scallops on the edges with Nuvo drops and allowing them to dry. So please stay tuned so you get to see what that looks like. But there's the inside. You could definitely finish that again with more papers, but be sure to burnish your mirror card if you want it to keep shining. So here, let's go on to the star. We're going to be using the two larger stars. The base is cut with the smaller of the two. Cut out 2 pieces for that. And then use that third inlay die to cut out your apertures. So you'll be doing that 2 more times if you want it to be nice and sturdy. So I did use 300 GSM card and also satin card. And here, the side pieces you're going to cut out with the die that has the little star on it. So that you're going to go ahead and cut out 5 times. And if you want to use your layers, you're going to use this other die here and cut that out as well 5 times and add your layers. So as you can tell, I cut into the paper, and I'm going to tell you why. These side pieces you definitely want to cut out of the 80-pound weight classic card from Tonic Studios, because you're going to be doing quite a bit of folding. So see those little V shapes? You're going to fold those as a mountain fold and burnish them really nicely. Then there's a tiny little tab in the center. You're also going to fold that. You're going to apply adhesive to it, and then this is going to overlap so that you get a really nice sturdy corner to your star shaped box. That's what we'll be making in this case instead of the bag. You're going to repeat that on the second side of this, overlap that tiny little tab and then that V shape, and that's going to secure your little corner pieces. And this is why I didn't bother with 2 layers. But now for this base, you're going to notice that the die does leave a bit of an indentation on the edge, so that'll help you distinguish that. But here's where you're going to adhere each one of those little V shapes all the way around. And once you have secured those, now you're going to secure the other pieces that you do need to burnish as a U shape here. So just take your bone folder or paper creaser, and as you see there, you just rock it in the palm of your hand to achieve that shape. And here, this is why I suggested the 80-pound weight card. It's because it's such a steep curve, if you will, that if you use heavier paper, it's not going to give you the same result. So here you're wanting to adhere the scallops first onto the base. See how close I got that? It's because the paper is not too heavy. And once you've secured the base, now you want to adhere the 2 side pieces, and you're going to know how they overlap because your paper is scored. So if you pause the video, you'll be able to see that. Just add your adhesive, and now you can secure the corner to the portion that's in the center. And you're going to repeat this all the way around, but just take your time and make sure that each one of those little scallops at the bottom is fully adhered and really nicely secured before you attach them to the corners. And look at how clean that looks. There are no gaps in this, and you're going to have a really clean finish both on the top and bottom. So just repeat this again all the way around. Secure your little half moon tabs first, and feed this so that the 2 larger tabs go inside of the box, if you see there. And tuck in that second edge as well. So if you see, this is a bit slower. That way you get to see exactly how to position that paper, and then hold on to those little half moon tabs nice and taut so that they meet the edge. So you get to see how I position the paper to suit what's comfortable for me. But once I have that, I don't move it from the edge of the paper, and that's how you're able to secure it without having gaps in the edge, on the edges of the boxes that you make. because 3D crafting sometimes takes a bit of patience, but I wanted to show you my little tips on how to get this so that it looks like a really clean finish. And now is when you can adhere this to one corner first, of course. Take your time there holding that paper and then secure it onto the opposite corner. So hopefully this helps. And don't forget that you can always cut the die cut pieces again if you like to decorate the inside of a box. But again, I would suggest that you do use satin card. I wouldn't necessarily add anything heavier. So once you've done that all the way around, it should look as you see it here. And here you can add the second layer to go ahead and cover all of those raw edges. I've opted for this really pretty paper from Tonic Studios, and what I'll do is that I'll leave the names in the description bar of this video. But I intended on using that same paper all the way around with the box, and it was far too heavy, so I just went ahead and used it for the lid and for the base. But be sure to burnish this, and the way to do so is to actually burnish it from the inside of the box, so that way you don't ruin that pretty paper. Now insert one of the apertures in that star shape that you've created. And this is going to take you a bit of time, just to let you know, but apply adhesive to that white star, or that star in 300 GSM paper. Then go ahead and apply adhesive also to the half moon tabs and secure those all the way around so that you have that aperture adhered, and you're going to cover it now with the second one. Now, as you can tell, I did the white one, as I mentioned before, in 300 GSM paper. That's because I wanted a really sturdy edge to this box, but it's up to you. You can definitely do that in 80-pound paper and then secure it with the second one. So that's going to sandwich all of those little tabs together. And now let's move on to the lid. You're going to be cutting out one of the side pieces a total of 5 times, and then here I'm shaping it with my hands because of the paper that I'm using. I didn't want it to crease, but I want to show you the die. It has 4 half moon tabs, and it is the smaller of these two that I'm pointing out. Now you're also going to be cutting this shape 5 times, and the same as you did for the base, you're going to go ahead and fold all of the side portions there as a mountain fold and secure it by adhering the smaller tab onto one of the little V shapes, and then overlap the second one right on top to secure both. So this portion is going to be super easy. You can go ahead and do that 5 times total. And now get your lid pieces. You want to cut these out twice. And all of the little feet of your star are going to adhere right onto that little V shape. So place adhesive onto that tab and then secure it with your paper creaser. And of course you're going to repeat this 4 more times, and just press onto that paper. And the reason I switch over the different edges of that paper creaser, by the way, is so that I don't leave indentations on this paper, because the pearlescent paper will look as if you have burnished it or scored it if you burnish it too hard. That's what I meant to say. But here you're going to join the edge pieces, and this is why you want to fold those, or shape them, I should say. So secure those half moon tabs onto the base as well. And now once those are secure, you're also going to be feeding the larger tabs on the inside so that you can adhere those onto the corner pieces. So it's the same way that you did the base. You'll be doing this lid, and then repeat this 4 more times. And that's going to give you the edge of your lid. So that's how it should look, and you're going to be able to cover this with a second star that you cut using the same exact die. So let me know in the comments if this speed of video is what you prefer or if you would like me to go slower. Don't forget, however, there is a cog on the video in the corner so that if you do need to speed up or slow down any one of my videos, you can definitely do so. But once you've secured the lid, now you can add all of these beautiful decorative pieces to create one more star. You're going to want to fold that piece of the star as a mountain fold in the center, and you're also going to fold the larger and the smaller tab, as you see there, also as a mountain fold. And as you see there, I've applied the Redline Craft Perfect tape right on the underside of this piece of cardstock, and I am using Angel Fire, I believe is the name, mirror card from Tonic Studios. You're going to fold that as if it were a little envelope by overlapping those papers, and here I'm just securing that little tip of that paper one more time. You're going to do that a total of 5 times, and you can see the dies that I've used on the corner of your screen, but the smaller one there you're going to want to fold as a V fold, and that's going to secure closer to the edge where the little star is in the center. So you see how these overlap. You're going to attach one of these little star legs onto the other by way of that smaller little V shape that you've created. And if you can tell, there are little layering pieces here, but of course you're going to decorate this as you wish, and there are several options in this die set. This is just one of the options here. I've used the layers, and I've also used the Verso dies, which don't cut the edge, and I cut right into that mirror card, then layered the glitter layer right on top. And then for the smaller one, I did cut it out twice, once out of glitter card, the other out of lavender card, and then I just cut away the tabs so that I could obtain that shiny center. But here, of course, you're going to continue adding one leg to another by adhering the smaller piece onto the larger, and this is repetitive, so I think you get the gist of it by watching me do this. Of course, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to help. But this is going to be a successive order of steps here where you keep adhering a small piece onto a larger one, and eventually you have all of the pieces together so that it forms a star as well. And one tip I'll give you here is that the little stars in the middle will also be overlapping one another, so be mindful of that. And here's the last edge there, so make sure you secure that. You're going to have to fiddle with it a little bit, but those little stars in the center will overlap, and you can also add a tiny drop of adhesive there to the layers if you would like to. And it's going to be nice and sturdy when it's all said and done. But just take your time adhering this. And once that's nice and dry, if you would like to, what I have done with mine is I placed pieces of Redline adhesive on each one of those little legs. And as you see there, I'm just adding adhesive just in case I need it. Sometimes I add more than I need to, but what I did was I secured a piece of twine or ribbon, I know it's cord, a piece of cord to the center using Redline adhesive. And now I'm fiddling with the cover of that adhesive. That Redline cover always gives me trouble, but I went ahead and removed that and just applied a little bit more glue, and honestly I don't think I needed it in the center, but I did go ahead and take advantage of the little label in this die set, the little star in the center, as you can tell there. I just covered up all of those little layered stars with one more, and there I also cut out the little stars available in the set by marrying those one to another. I did use Redline adhesive there. And I do recommend that you actually press onto the underside of that lid to secure the star right on top. And I did go back with the Nuvo adhesive and just added little drops along the edge where I thought it was necessary so that it wouldn't have any gaps. And lastly, I decorated some of this using little diamond dots just because I like bling and shine. But this is the end of this tutorial. Don't forget to use the links below if you'd like to get your hands on this die set, and I also invite you to watch the tutorial that I have for you for the retro robot, which was absolutely popular. So this Cyber Week has been a lot of fun. I hope that you are enjoying all of the content. I'll come back with more tutorials for you. So of course, if you enjoy this content, then be sure to share it also with your friends. And whenever you receive these, also share what you make over at the Tonic Studios official Facebook page so that we can all enjoy it as well. And as I always say, I do hope that you can be inspired and be blessed. And I thank you so much for having supported my channel this year and spent some time with me today.